All right, we're back with the hot stove. Hot off the presses. Breaking news today that the Mets bowed out of the... Probably bowed out a couple days ago, but it's just in the last 24, 48 hours, he goes back to the Twins. The Twins and Carlos Correa are finalizing a 6-year, $200 million contract pending a physical. Yeah. After 3 weeks of trying to finagle with the Mets and negotiate with the Mets, it just came to a standstill. So this new agreement will include a vesting option for 4 years and $70 million, and it becomes official if Correa passes the medical review, which is going on right now. Then he would have to vest and get it up to the $33 million annually and finalize a 6-year, $200 million contract. But this is what I've been talking about, that I don't think that Boras wanted to have this kind of language in the contract. I think he just wanted, and most agents, and this isn't just Scott Boras, they want you to get your money. No, hell or high water. I don't care if it's over 20 years, like the Bobby Bonilla deal. Dennis Gilbert was my former agent. That was a very well negotiated deal. You're talking about $20 to $30 million because of interest payments. That was originally just $7 million that the Mets owed Bobby Bonilla. Had they just paid him a lump sum. But they didn't have the money. The Wilpons didn't have the money at that moment, and because of the Bernie Madoff thing, and so they were like, "Listen, could we do it and over interest payments, and we'll do it over 20-year time." That's why every year Bobby Bonilla gets that like $1.3 or $1.6 million check. This is the same kind of deal. This is like, listen, after 4 years, you're going to have to start, vesting. Every year you got to play, and I won't know until the final contract hits the public viewing, but I would assume it's like 130 games played a year. Probably at 110 or 120 games played, he starts getting a certain amount of more money added to whatever his contract's going to be. Then it's at bats. You could probably start at 350, 400, and every 50 at bats you get another $5 million added onto that contract. And so the language in the incentives is something that a lot of agents don't like, because not that you just have to earn it, but you have to be healthy enough to earn it. And this guy, they're talking about this surgically repaired leg is a huge sticking point. And it's not the back, it's not the shoulder, it's the leg. And I just keep thinking of Karate Kid and Sweep the Leg.
Yeah, me too.
Every time I say it, but it's the right leg, and it's hampered his career, his entire career. I don't care what you think of his value as a healthy player. It's what these teams are worried about when he's not healthy, and he's we don't want to have to pay him $200 million if after the first 5 years if we can if we can't ensure that this guy's going to be healthy. And I'm happy because there's so many times we'll be like, I can't believe you gave these opt-out deals to these players, or you just gave them the guaranteed, even the Deshaun Watson. I mean, who knows what Deshaun Watson's going to be doing in 3 years? But to guarantee any of these major leaguers money without making sure that they're going to be healthy for at least 75% of the deal, I think is bad business. And I'm not trying to come down hard on Carlos Correa, but there's been so many precedents set going back, like I said, with Randy Myers, with Mark McGwire. And if I had time to look it up, I could think of many more players that didn't finish those careers out, like David Wright and Dustin Pedroia. And it's no shame on them. But the teams were stuck on the hook for those $20, $25 million a year payments, and they couldn't go out and get other players to play second base or play shortstop or whatever. And so I think that the Red Sox are in this situation. You always talk about it, dead money. Dead money. That's the worst thing that the public doesn't see. But we see when we go to some of these websites that, whoa, the starting 26-man roster, let's just say it's $200 million. Let's just say it's the Yankees. They might have $60 million in dead money. They're still paying guys. A-Rod, his last year was $22 million that he wasn't even playing. They just wanted him out of the locker room. And now you're starting to see that these owners are fed up with that we don't want to be on the hook for $100 million of money that's going to a guy that can't play. So I think that this is one of the newer cases of a 28-year-old guy that didn't pass 2 physicals. I don't think it's a slight on him. I just think it's good business to make sure that you're insured for the last half of this contract. Now you see 6 years instead of 12, which is 50% of what the Mets were talking about, and then he's got to to get those last 2 years of the 6 years, he's got to vest by playing and being healthy.
And I think that the Giants, the Mets, and even the Twins with this last couple of weeks have avoided exactly what we're afraid of with all of these players. And there's 30 possible landing spots for every single player, and Scott Boras knows that. And Scott Boras has played this game for so long and better than anyone else that he knows that that's what the rate is. If you want this guy, doesn't have to be Carlos Correa, if you want this guy and he's the best at the position statistically speaking, where that can be proven, this is what the rate is. And it takes everyone, all 30, to say, no, it's not. No, it's not, because you need just one. If you're Scott Boras, you only need one to say yes, and then that sets the new bar for the market. And usually, and sometimes it is the Giants. So most of the time, it is the Mets.
Right?
They are that one, and for them to wait out and before they pull the trigger on it to see all the details in the contract and in the medical report. Maybe we're into a new world of smart deals in Major League Baseball, at least what we're seeing with Carlos Correa here.
Well, and let's just take Rafael Devers, for instance. I mean, it seems like a lot of money, but over the course of it, the annual average is low enough to where you can work around that and bring in other players.
Right.
I think even in this deal, if it averaged out correctly, whether it vests or not, would be $33 million annually. It's a middle market team. Some of its deals. Byron Buxton.
You're talking Correa to the Twins.
Yeah, Correa to the Twins is 6 years, $200. But Buxton has a $100 million deal in there. The largest one ever before this was Joe Mauer, which I think was like a 10 or 12-year deal for $184 million.
Remember that.
They ate a lot of that contract. And yes, he is forever one of the greatest Twins, but he never won a championship for the Twins. He won a couple of batting crowns. He was an amazing player, but he wasn't all that in a bag of chips. And you can't be in a team sport in a middle market like Joey Votto. Oh, my God, the last half dozen years or so with Joey Votto, the Reds have been reeling from a $250 million mistake.
Yep.
And a lot of these teams can't survive on that. That's why the Pirates don't do it. That's why the Twins rarely do it. That's why the Reds have done it once. But the Yankees have the revenue stream that they can survive a mistake or 2 or 3. The Mets can survive now with the richest owner in baseball. They'll be able to survive mistakes. But I don't think Steve Cohen, now new to this game, was like, well, listen, if the Giants didn't bite on this deal, what do they know that we don't know? And I'm sure that quickly, they were able to reach out and find out exactly what happened. And so they brought in, and listen, the Mets had terrible doctors for decades that missed on a lot of players.
They knew the stenosis of the spine.
They did. They still signed David Wright.
Yeah.
And listen, that's no slight on David Wright. I love the dude, but it was
him.
Like, good for him. He got his money, but at the same time, there's in football. We were just talking about this. You've got Matt Ryan and the Colts. They're going to be on the hook for some money. You got Russell Wilson. They got a bunch of money invested in that guy, and things haven't gone well. It's going to start costing head coaches their jobs because of mistakes that upper management made. And I just think that baseball's not the only sport where throwing a lot of money at problems sometimes blows up in your face. It happens in the NBA. It's happened many times in Major League Baseball, and I don't think it's good for the game when you see bad deals. when you see mistakes that are made by management thinking, hey, if I throw a bunch of money at a bunch of positions, it's going to work and we're going to win a championship. You can't buy a championship. You need to do a lot of certain things. You need to evaluate talent correctly, and I think that's why we also have seen teams like the Red Sox be hesitant of going to the money line of $350 for Mookie Betts. The Dodgers went to that line, but the Red Sox a few years ago were unwilling to do it, and they traded Mookie Betts. You saw other teams that have shied away, and it took almost an act of God to get the Yankees to move off of some of their early money lines on Aaron Judge to finally, the guy had to break all kinds of records and stuff to essentially get the money that we feel that he deserved annually. And I just think that there's a lot of other teams now. I think the Texas Rangers, what they have done in the last few years could cost them dearly. Corey Seager, $325, easily. Simeon, $175. Now DeGrom, you're bringing in Eovaldi. You better hope and pray the Astros and the Mariners don't continue their winning ways. And the Mariners have only gotten stronger over the last couple of years. The Mariners did a lot of this with homegrown talent, and now they're sprinkling in free agency and trading and doing a nice job. So I just think that you can't just continue to throw a lot of money. Listen, the Yankees haven't won a championship since 2009, and they've spent billions. So I'm sure Hal Steinbrenner sits back and he's like, hey, we just dropped $325 on Garrett Cole. Now we're dropping another $300 million, $400 million close to it on Aaron Judge. That's a lot of money, and we still have to pay off Giancarlo Stanton. We talked about that. There's $100 million wrapped up in 3 players on the New York Yankees right now, and I'm sure Steve Cohen was looking at the finances of the Yankees going, the payroll right now for the Mets without Correa is at $300 million. Had you added another $30-40 million, you would have been at $340 million bucks for your team, and you may not even be where you are 100% finished doing deals. So Billy Epler and the Mets, I personally feel you dodged the missile.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And not only because of what you're talking financially, and plus you're just talking this year. I mean, you got to be thinking about the next 6 years. There's a guy by the name of Peter Alonso that's going to be in arbitration here after 2023. Jeff McNeil. You definitely want to keep these cats around. So now you've got more room, more money to play with for those 2 deals. But also just what you look at it on paper in the depth chart, Carlos Correa was the cherry on top. Maybe not even that. Some sprinkles on top of a beautiful little sundae you've already created. Like, their lineup is nice. It was nice when the season ended last year. I think they've got a lot of talent, and I thought, whatever you want to think about DeGrom, best ability is availability. He wasn't available much last year. And he comes in the game they needed, he did not come through. You add a Verlander, I think it's been juiced up a little bit with him and everybody else you have on that pitching staff, but still some room to maneuver. And if we're not even talking before April 1st, I was talking June or July or trade deadline where the Mets might need something because of an injury.
All right, real quick here, and I know we got a break. Gary Sanchez is still available to catch or DH.
DH.
Yuli Gurriel is available for first base. Josh Harrison at second base. Jose Iglesias, who is a great glove guy, could be in the Red Sox near future. Brian Anderson at third. Jurickson Profar, who is a very good outfielder, plays left field. Adubel Herrera in center field is available. And your favorite and mine, we've been watching him since he was a Red, Adam Duvall.
Duvall, I just watched him on the Mets game.
We just watched him 2015 with the Reds.
That's then why.
Just
always keep me
crazy.
up on what happened in 2015 with the Mets and the Reds. There's a lot of good people out there, but also the one thing I'm going to start paying attention to in the next couple of months, especially for you Red Sox fans, because I got into it during the break, and you Yankees fans, there's a lot of good stuff in the pipeline for the Red Sox and the Yankees. And we're just talking with John a new guy that we got on staff, talking about the Red Sox pipeline. Marcelo Mayer, High A, I guess we call it. High A. 2024 is his ETA for the Bigs. And then you also got a Cadanye Rafaela, who plays outfield and shortstop. He could get some time this season. So there's room in the cupboard from these youngsters of the Red Sox. And for the Yankees, man, I'm paying attention. This is the year you're going to see Jason Dominguez, 19-year-old, finally getting at bat for the New York Yankees. And it's going to be one of those kids, man. It's like, we got to get this kid in the lineup somehow, some way. I can't wait to see the future for him. But on top of the free agents you just listed, there's a lot of good 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds that could really fill out a roster here in March.
And if you need an old arm, Rich Hill, by the way, off the market. He signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Pirates. You still got Zach Greinke out there. Wade Miley is still out there. And Michael Waka Waka is still out there. So there's some starting pitching that can help. Not just the Red Sox, a lot of ball clubs out there.
Yeah, Johnny Cueto
just signed. He's a Marlin.
I have heard Wade Miley to the Brewers. Has that been official yet? Yes, he just signed with the Brewers this morning. It's like literally just started this morning because I saw that and I was like, gosh, the Cubs.
Cubs could have had him.
Brewers, man. The Cubs had him. And they just give him to the whatever.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back.
The only guy we had.
Got some dibbles and bits for you coming up. There's a lot of other stories that are going on. We still got the NFL. We still got a lot of people to discuss on the show today. We'll be right back.